right back at the beginning, I was there when he healed Pete's mother-in-law of a life-threatening fever. I was one of the eyewitnesses right there in the room when he raised Jairus' dead daughter. At that time we together went up that big mountain up north. I got to be one of the three who got to see him shining with a dazzling, I'm still struggling to figure out how to describe it, like an undiluted glory. As he chit-chatted, as you do with, Moses and Elijah. But let me tell you, what really took our breath away that day was the voice from heaven. This is my Son, whom I love. Listen to him. At one point, Jesus even gave James and me a nickname, Sons of Thunder. Maybe it was because we wanted to call down fire from heaven on that Samaritan village because they rudely brushed him off. Maybe it was because two of us with Mum pressed him to do something that was really kind of outrageous. I can still hear him. What do you want me to do for you? I'll give us the highest places of honour in your kingdom. At least we're passionate. Oh, those were the days. Days of hope and wonder and heads held high confidence. Not anymore, though. It's Friday. Friday evening. In my culture, Sabbath has already begun. It's been an extraordinary but then so horrible week. How can it be just 7 days since last Sabbath? The action these past few weeks has felt like a non-stop escalating blur, He kept sounding as though somehow he was expecting some kind of vicious opposition. But then every time he came anywhere near our esteemed religious leaders, why did he have to keep on antagonising them so? Sunday was glorious. He arrived the way a king should arrive, riding almost bareback on a young donkey with the crowds hailing him. We dared to think that his kingdom was about to be launched. And yet we couldn't miss that odd fascination with his own death. It just kept creeping into our conversations again and again and again. On Tuesday, when that woman cracked open her super expensive perfume and just poured it out all over him, we felt embarrassed and cranky. Why such waste? But he told us off. And he went so far as to suggest that this had something to do with his own burial. Well, that's ominous. And then last night, how was it just last night? It's bad enough that he'd marched us for months towards the lair of those who saw him as their bitter rival, but then reclining there during Passover, he came out with this shocking prediction that one of us, one of his closest friends, would do the unthinkable and betray him. He'd already shamed us by washing all our grubby feet. Admittedly, they were deliciously clean afterwards. But now he lands us with this. Betray him? Who'd do such a thing? To betray him is to betray all of us and everything that he stands for. At least it wasn't going to be me. I asked. But that only makes things a teeny bit less terrible. During and then after the meal, he took the bread and then the cup. And instead of reminding us what happened back in Moses' day, he seemed to be saying that somehow they represented his body and his blood. Whatever is that supposed to mean? And he talked about a new covenant and forgiveness of sins. It's extraordinary stuff. We are still bewildered. And golly, I wish we could have asked more questions while we still could. On the way out to the Mount of Olives, there was, yet another awful prediction. He reckoned that we would all fail him. Fail him. Pete protested, of course. And then through that black hour or so, or was it 2, 3, in Gethsemane, he asked, but I just couldn't stay awake for him. He was so distressed, but my eyelids just kept drooping as I nodded off. When that angry crowd arrived with our fake friend, most of us retreated. And then when they arrested him, we fled. We just fled. Brave old Pete hinted that he stuck around longer, but then that he failed even more badly than the rest of us did. It's Friday evening now. What a Black Friday it's been. We thought it was such an extraordinary week, now so horrible. Horrible. How can it be just 24 hours since we were reclining together, sharing that Passover? I did inch my way back in the early hours this morning. I was kind of tag teaming with Pete, trying not to make it too obvious that I'm the one who got him inside. Oh, what a sickening excuse for a trial. It was just nasty. Our highest authorities, ignoring the Romans just for a moment, how do they not realise that in calling him guilty, they've made themselves damnably guilty? Oh, it's a pathetic decision. And then he was tied up and led away. We don't yet know exactly what happened with Pilate. I guess I'll have to find out one day if things ever settle and write it all down. It became pretty obvious, though. Pilate must have figured that his safest path was to use the political pretender loophole and validate their vile verdict. We gasped when we eventually saw the charge written up in triplicate. King of the Jews. They're so blind. How can they not see? And then that crowd, after Sunday, I figured for sure they'd want to have Jesus released, and I was stunned to hear them calling for that murderer, Barabbas. Barabbas instead of Jesus, which really means Jesus in place of Barabbas. Oh, how could they stoop so low? That grin on Barabbas's face, he could barely believe what was happening to him. Then the soldiers really went to work. I didn't see what happened, I'm glad of that, because they took him back inside the palace. What I do know is that when he came back out again, he looked battered. Whereas hours earlier he'd seemed so determined and strong. To see my friend, my captain, so humiliated. And the ruckus of the mob and the sniggers of that scheming Sanhedrin, it was those distant priestly cousins of mine, having started with their muffled, "Give us Barabbas. Give us Barabbas." Now that escalated into their foul, bellowing, "Crucify! Crucify!" Pilate did give it one final shot to set the true king free, but the tide was totally against him. "Here is your king," he says. "Crucify! Crucify him!" They say crucifixion should never be mentioned in polite company. I've never watched one before. I can't say I saw all of one today. There are moments where you just can't help but flinch. On the way out to that horrid little hill, they roped in some poor stranger to carry his crossbeam. Jesus was so weak. The Jesus I know is wiry. What they'd done to him. But he wouldn't even accept any drugs to dull the pain. I couldn't watch the next bit as they hoisted him up. Still, the bigwigs kept ridiculing him. But I was there. With Mum. And his mum too. In fact, just before the bitter end, what an absolute honour. He asked me, he instructed me, he entrusted me to look after his mum as my own. I'll do it. Yeah, I'll do it as long as she lives. Of us men, I was the only one left. Everyone was hurling insults at him. The priests, of course, the passers-by, the bandits crucified on each side, though one of them changed his tune after a while. Meantime, here are the soldiers playing two up for his garments, pretending all this ruckus has very little to do with them. And then I saw him die. So quickly, so unfairly, so agonisingly, so dramatically. Didn't you notice that massive eerie darkness in the early afternoon? The whole scene was so degrading and violent and excruciating, and he seemed so dreadfully alone. He said two final things. "I thirst." Well, no wonder he was so dehydrated. He must have sensed the end was near. "I thirst." And they gave him vinegar, which, now I think about it, sounds curiously like one of those Psalms of David. I'm going to have to look that one up. I thirst. I wonder, did he take that last sip in order to make certain that his agonizing, loud, final cry could be properly heard? It is finished. I never ever imagined I'd hear the most fully human person ever utter such a thing. It is finished. I wonder, was it a cry of defeat? I can't figure it out. Or surrender? Or despair? Or horrendous failure? What kind of final cry is that? It is finished. Though even as he gave up his spirit, he still seemed somehow in uncanny command. It is finished. Oh, it was so horrid to watch, though at least that pagan centurion seemed to get it. Surely this man was the Son of God. Bit late now, buddy. It's Friday evening. It's been the most harrowing day imaginable. My friend, my captain, my hope, my king died today. It's all over. Of us 12, actually no, of us 11, I was the last to see him alive. It's really going to be a down in the dumps Sabbath in the morning. And I'm afraid. More than I can remember. We're all afraid. What's next for us now? It's like the most brilliant of lights has shone into the darkness, and the darkness has overcome it. Darkness has won. The one tiny happy moment in this whole wretched day was that two of those gentlemen from the ruling council actually turned out to be gentlemen after all. How long have they been secret followers? It was pretty bold, really. They must have asked Pilate personally for the body, and before we knew it, here they are with fresh linen and spices, and they're washing and wrapping and honouring his limp body, and then they placed it in a brand new tomb. Mary and Mary were there. They say they know exactly the spot. Then they sealed the tomb. No one's getting in there now. Oh, how can they have done this to him, of all people? Has there ever been such a terrible, terrible Friday? My friend, my captain, my hope died today. Of us men, I was the last to see him. It's all over. It's all over. Now, little did John guess. Jesus had told him, but still he couldn't guess. Just 2 troubled sleeps. And then early on Sunday morning, he'll be awoken as Mary Magdalene raises the alarm with her impossible news of a stone shifted and a body missing. And soon afterwards, John will be the first of the 11 to arrive at the empty tomb. And then barely 48 hours from this broken-hearted Friday evening, what absolute joy awaits, because even death has no dominion over this king. Yes, he will be irreversibly and spine-tinglingly alive. And John, you'll have a new job to do. But back here in the middle of things, it's Friday and it's just horrible. You hear that? My friend, my captain, my hope, my king, he died today. It's all over. Darkness has won. And so what did he mean? It is finished. Was it a cry of defeat or despair or failure? No. This was Jesus' cry of triumph. It is finished. In that moment is the most wonderful and life-changing cry possible. There's no way that John can possibly realise all this on Friday, but Jesus' victorious, it is finished, means our ransom is fully paid. It is finished. It's all done. Our iniquity has been fully laid on him, and the curse of sin has been fully unleashed. It is finished. The dreadful wages of sin have been fully substituted. Death has been fully tasted. It's finished. Holy wrath is fully satisfied. Atonement is fully secured. It is finished. Our guilt, our real guilt, is fully forgiven. Our shame, real shame, is fully wiped away. It's finished. It's done. Jesus himself has been made fully perfect through suffering. It's finished. His unique mission is fully fulfilled. His central work is fully done. Yes, it's finished. As we sometimes sing, and we'll sing shortly, it was my sin that held him there until it was accomplished. His dying breath has brought me life. I know that it is finished. Love is fully poured out. It's finished. And so decades later, here's John's mature reflection on it all. What was the cross all about? And was it worth it? This is how God showed his love among us. He sent his one and only Son into the world that we might live through him. Live through him. This is love, not that we loved God, but that he loved us and sent his Son as an atoning sacrifice for our sins. It is finished. And so, however traumatic, however heartbreaking, however tragic, however unjust, however humiliating, however black, darkness had not won. And the story of stories was not all over. But the deep and costly heart of Jesus' core mission was finished. Done, complete. And very soon, the power of his indestructible life would burst forth And then new life would be wonderfully on offer for us. And so I need to ask, have you made him your king yet? Have you made him your king? Okay, let's sing.